Good morning.
Good morning, Father.
So this is the sixth Sunday after Christmas, sixth Sunday in the ordinary time, yet we are still stuck in the first chapter of the Gospel of Mark. And in that first chapter of the Gospel of Mark, we kind of get a glimpse of the early days in Jesus' ministry after he was baptized. And Jesus ministers in Galilee. And today, he cures a leper. Now, we see three things. The leper approaches Jesus, takes initiative. Now, we do not know his name. Number two, he kneels in front of Jesus. And number three, he begs to be healed. And he says to Jesus this: if you wish, you can make me clean. Now, Mark tells us that in response to this statement, Jesus was moved with pity. Now, the Greek word for pity here suggests something more wrenching. A better translation would be that Jesus was gutted. In his gut, he felt the leper's pain. And that moved him deeply. So much so that he does something unthinkable. He touches the leper with his hand. And then he says to him, I do will it. Be made clean. Now, lepers in the time of Jesus and in the Greco-Roman society belonged to one particular group, and that group was called untouchables. The lowest in the society, the most despised in the society. They, in fact, were outcasts. They were feared. They were thrown out of towns and villages, and they were abandoned by their families and friends. And it did not make any difference whatsoever whether you were rich or poor, free man or slave. If you were a leper, the same fate would come upon you. Today's first reading reminds us that in addition to that, lepers were also spiritually and ritually unclean. They could not worship God. They were required, as we read in the first reading in the book of Leviticus, to yell, unclean, unclean, if they were in the presence of others. If it was you, how would it feel to have to do that? So not only did they suffer physical leprosy, the disease of the skin, not only did they suffer emotional leprosy, they were abandoned by their family and friends, but also they suffered from spiritual leprosy. They were told that not even God was on their side. In fact, they were told that they were cursed by God, that God punished them. If someone touched a leper, they would be made unclean as well and destined for the same existence. So this is who Jesus meets. This is who Jesus encounters. But touching the leper, Jesus intentionally makes himself ritually unclean. And Jesus knows that if he does it, that's what's going to happen. Yet, he does it. As if to say to himself, what the heck? Because he sees the suffering of the other person. And everything else is suspended for a moment. He identifies with the leper. He breaks the purity law by touching this man. And then he tells the man who was just healed to go to the priest with a proper offering and to follow what was prescribed by Moses. And here's an interesting paradox, that Jesus breaks the purity law, but he asks this man to follow the purity laws as Moses prescribed. And then he tells the man that was healed not to tell anyone about this healing. And the man, to the surprise of everyone, I suppose, does not follow Jesus' command. In fact, he tells everyone. See, this miracle is so amazing. How can he keep it to himself? If it were me, I would definitely tell everyone. First of all, I can't keep a secret. I mean, everybody would know. What am I supposed to say if people ask me what happened? You see, but I suspect that Jesus did not want him to say anything to anyone because Jesus does not want to draw attention to himself. Jesus is not here to seek fame and recognition. Jesus is here to respond to human need. And again, the leper does not obey Jesus' command. And Mark tells us, the man went away and began to publicize the whole matter. He spread the report abroad so that it was impossible for Jesus to enter a town openly. He remained outside in deserted places, and people kept coming to him from everywhere. So in today's gospel, we see three simple things. Number one, Jesus' humanity and his deep compassion for those who are outcasts and regarded as unclean, now and then. Number two, Jesus' willingness to talk to interact, but most importantly, to touch the untouchable. And number three, we see that in this story, the commands and the prescriptions of the law are not the most important. What is a driving force in this story is compassion. That's what moves the narrative. Today's ending in the gospel, as we see people coming from all over the place to see Jesus, is an appropriate ending as we approach the season of Lent. Because the season of Lent invites all of us to go to the desert, to seek Christ the way these people were seeking him, and to be renewed in faith, the same way the people in Galilee were renewed in faith. Lent is a time of renewal, and it's coming on Wednesday after the snowstorm. Lent is a time of growing and deepening our faith. And God knows I need the deepening of my faith. Who doesn't? Growing closer to God, growing closer to Jesus, growing closer to one another. That's what Lent is all about. And to help us this Lent to grow in our faith, we invite you to take home a book with 40 simple reflections for each day of Lent. And we invite you to spend 10 minutes a day with this book. That's not a lot, just 10 minutes a day. And see where it leads you. Where the Spirit of God is going to lead you and draw you. The title of the book is Rebuild Faith. It was written by Father Michael White and Tom Corcoran. And the subtitle of the book is A Handbook for Skeptical Catholics, which is another way of saying a handbook for people of faith who have questions. And we all do. Yeah. So this Lent, as we journey together, in addition to giving up something, we invite you to pick up something. To pick this book. Take it home, and let's journey through the season of Lent together.